Today is my birthday. I am 24 years old and I'm never gonna be this age at this exact moment ever again. So I'm gonna take a photo, something my mother would be proud of. Photos are special. They're like little time machines that let us peer into the past. They capture a moment that you can never go back to in time in a convenient and easy to share manner. And in that regard, they're worth protecting. I was born in the middle of the 1990s, just about a decade before digital photography really took over, well, at least in my family. My French-Canadian meme absolutely loved disposable cameras. In fact, I actually have one right here. Ooh. Developed before January 2005. Uh-oh. So I have many physical photos of my early life, but as the years rolled on, I've come to notice something, that the family scrapbooks got thinner and thinner. And it's not just because we weren't developing the photos. They were all being put in a new medium. I actually think my mother and father, who were born in the 70s, have more physical photos overall of themselves than I do of myself. Now, of course, I have more photos of me at 24 than my mother and father did at 24, but they're not physical, which has and may lead to a number of problems. Things break, accounts aren't even known, and passwords are lost. If I were to die right here, right now, how much of my information, my photos, would be inaccessible? Where my mom and dad's photos are in my closet, or at least their old ones, but they might not even know where to start when it comes to getting mine. Or for me, getting their recent photos. My digital photos are in my current computer and my old computer. The one I spilled water on, the really old computer that turns on but doesn't actually work. They were in computers thrown out. They are in my current cell phone and they are in my old cell phones. We have a ton of storage devices that they are in, UBS drives and even CDs. They are in my emails. I have more than one. They are in my social media accounts. They are in the cloud. And those are just a few things I can think of off the top of my head. And one could be really out of luck if there is something encrypted. Now, you may be a really organized person and have all this stuff already figured out, but most people, including me, don't. And if I'm gone, my older, less tech-savvy family might not even know what's out there for me to have been using, let alone usernames and passwords to even get in them. We've already had young people within my own family pass away, and we are just out of luck when it comes to getting some of their stuff. Some services like iCloud are meant to have your account terminated upon your death. There is no right of survivorship as stated in its terms of service, at least as of this video. This is because many online services are under no legal obligation to provide information you give them to your loved ones and/or family. I didn't mean for that to sound mutually exclusive. And it could be dangerous if it was in any way too easy to give people access to your accounts. It might be safer for services to not allow anybody access at all, than have the off chance that somebody could abuse the system in order to get access to somebody else's account. Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat, Imgur, Google Cloud, and even Myspace say nothing about what happens to a person's account when they die in their terms of service or use or whatever word they're using. At least as of yet, though I suppose I may have missed some fancy phrasing. What's concerning about this is what's going to happen to people's information potentially decades down the road. If a company falls, are we going to know our information is going to remain private? Could the accounts of people who have been long since dead been made public for maybe a study or genealogy of some sort? You have rights while you're alive, but once you're dead, what may happen to your information could be a bit more complicated. Facebook, for instance, does actually let you make somebody into a legacy contact. They will get control of your account if it is memorialized. You could specify that in a will or a document providing clear consent. But it's still something that you would have to plan ahead and do, and odds are most of the people watching this video haven't done anything like that. But you probably should for Facebook, but obviously other services that allow such a feature. And really just organizing your accounts and passwords for somebody one day. So I actually plan on doing that. I'm gonna order people in terms of tech savviness, organization, and consideration. I mean, I love and trust my grandma, but the lady thinks Wi-Fi is a cool word to call your wife. Or as she pronounces it, wifey. I love and trust my dad, but I think you might lose something. And I'm not going to give my information to somebody who I think would be spiteful and use or withhold my information in a way I did not intend. And also specifying that now could prevent something like that happening when I don't have a say. And with that said, I think I have the best person for the job. His name is Byron. He's my little brother. He's kind of grown on me over the years, you know, I've kind of liked him a little bit. Anyway, yeah, I don't have to worry about him potentially dying of old age before me, so that's a big plus too. The people of today need to think about how their family is going to get a hold of their digital photos and just their digital stuff in general. Of course, some people may have things they don't want to share, but don't mix those with the things that you do. There are already services that are popping up that actually try to recover information from old devices and even stuff that's encrypted. And that's only going to become a bigger thing. And with the advent of supercomputers, it's not hard to believe that your old devices could potentially be broken into by a family member, like a distant relative one day. Or maybe, you know, some techie anthropologist. Wouldn't know any of those, would ya? Unless your stuff is destroyed as thoroughly as they do in the show Mr. Robot, there's a chance people will be able to find something out about you, if it's a photo or not. I know for me, I do have broken computers that I hope I can get stuff off of. The last photos I had of my meme were actually on this computer, but I accidentally spilled water on the keyboard back in 2013. Completely killed it. And it wasn't actually that long after she passed away. I don't even know if I'll ever be able to get them back, but I keep the computer. The idea of truly and permanently losing photos had not really occurred to me until that point. But in the event that you do get your photos off of a device or services, there is a new matter. What photos will they see? Is this digital age going to potentially condition another problem? A lack of context behind photos. For instance, it's not easy, or at least convenient, to add a caption to every photo in every sort of medium. Maybe for Facebook or Instagram, but not for the photos literally in your phone. It took way too many takes to get that right. I can't. What's wrong with me? Here's some photos that I pulled out of our old family collection. What can you tell me about them from just looking at them? Because my guess is probably not all that much. Of course, they are old, but so will be your photos one day. I'd be in the same boat as you right now if it wasn't for the fact that these photos actually have stuff written on them. This one is from World War I. My great-great-uncle would send home photos while he was serving for the US military in Europe. Here he discusses that a battle took place in the area back in the 1860s, and how he's got about 250 officers just walking beside the trucks. And there's probably no way I could have gotten that on my own, even if the quality was perfect. This one, on the other hand, is my great-great-great-great-grandfather, Ephraim Legros. He's been dead for almost 150 years now, nobody alive knows him, but the back of the photo gave his name and discussed how he was related to an Angeline Legros Winslow, his daughter, and she is my great-great-great-grandmother. And lastly, we have this one. It's actually pushed out a bit. You can kind of barely see it when I hold it like that, but you can actually feel all the things in the photo. It's pretty neat, and we're not related to this person at all. It was just a cool photo that I guess my family got and it got put in the family collection, but you can actually see that it's copyright right about there. Copyright 1905, so don't worry YouTube algorithm, you don't have to destroy my video. This is clearly in the public domain by now. So I only know about these photos because my family or even a company actually wrote on these pictures to add context to them. Again, our photos don't often get that if they're not on social media. And I guess sometimes even then. We might be able to pull the date and location the photo was taken out of the metadata of select photos, but often a lot of modern photos are just left contextless. And it's not always even easy to tell what's going on even if you get a little bit. Which of your photos may fall victim to a lack of context? Of course, these are not new problems. I've been working with family photos for quite a few years now, scanning them and recording them little by little. Sadly, some of our photos just tell us nothing. Take this one for instance. I did a live stream recently where I tried finishing up editing the last bits of a scan of this photo. Repairing old photos is a bit of a hobby of mine. That said, the family really knows nothing about this guy. His photo is in our family collection, but there is literally nothing to identify him. The back is just fabric. And of course, not a person alive today knows who he is. This photo is almost 200 years old. For all I know, this picture could actually be the last one in existence of this person. And I felt like fixing up his photo was a little bit extra important because of that, despite the extensive damage. I'm sure when this photo was taken in the late 1840s, he wasn't probably thinking to himself, "Good heavens, I sure hope people 200 years from now value my picture and remember me." But in all seriousness, could something like this be you one day? Because after a few generations, how many photos are still going to be around? How many people are going to be able to even identify them? And that's if your accounts and devices are simply not lost with time. So think about documenting your photos a little, and save them in a few different, reliable ways, because now that I have this digitized, I now have the original and a digital form of the photo, and at least something is going to stick around. And that can make a huge difference if a photo will stand the test of time. For my longtime viewers and anybody who's interested in checking out this video, I made one a while back called Will Your Existence Be Forgotten? I showed a photo of a man, this man, whose name had been completely lost to our branch of the family. We had no idea who this guy was. While meeting with some of my distant relatives, I found out that my great aunt specifically had a massive collection of old family photos, but not just old family photos within themselves, labeled ones. And sure enough, we found out who this guy was. After a 3-year search, and I was pretty much had given up hope, we found him. His name is Francis Clark Dudley. He married into my family through my many greats, Aunt Marietta Winslow. Now I could have found many labelless photos of this man and could have been in the same position. Even with more photos of him, I still couldn't figure out who he was. But because they were labeled, they had names and such, I was able to put to rest a mystery that my family branch has had over that photo for quite a long time. And I was able to do research about this man in a way I could have never done before. And that's the sort of stuff that can make our pictures especially special one day. And I'm gonna reach out and connect with some family I didn't even know I had. And that's pretty cool. So I think I've gone on long enough, and in conclusion I'll say this. We as individual human beings are not gonna be on Earth forever. Any one of us might actually not be here tomorrow. One day the memory of us will be all that is left of us, and that will be passed into the hands of the people around us. Death can be an uncomfortable thing to talk about, but in this digital world we all live in, death may not be just taking us out of the world, but it could also make it really hard to the people who want to preserve the authentic us and make us vulnerable to the people who don't want to. Protecting our devices, getting our photos, establishing the context, and protecting it in more than one format is important. Please save your digital photos as PNG files, and make sure to store your photos in a material that is non-acidic so that way they last longer and don't break down. Though these ones are probably a little bit safer than the papery ones that have come later, still. Future technologies and better technologies that we have today may help us contextualize some photos in the future. Facial recognition software and anything that goes beyond that even could help. But the world around us might not protect most of our stuff in the long term. What in the world today, especially in the context of photos, is still going to exist in the next few decades or even centuries? I wouldn't count on UBS drives forever. Physical photos might be more rare, but they actually are probably going to be the format that lasts the longest. But if you are protective and careful, you might not end up like this guy, unknown to everybody. Or worse, the countless photos that have been destroyed, or people who will never be able to be associated with their photo that managed to survive because things weren't really well labeled. So maybe it's time to figure out a plan. My questions for you guys are, what are you going to do with your photos? And what technology does exist or you think may exist that could be really helpful with preserving your photos? And as a final note, if you're interested and you like that sort of stuff, I did a video where I recorded myself fixing up one of my many great grandmother's photos, Lydia LeGros. So if you want to check that out, check out the description below. And with all that said and done, my name's Dale, this is Think Fact, and remember, never stop learning and thinking. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed my video, please give it a like, that would really help me out. And if you enjoy this type of content, please consider subscribing. I hope to have many other videos come out in the future. Have a good one.